Miss Nicole here, and I'm once again back in the nursery, and this is our last week of our virtual summer in the garden, beginning Botanist, and this week's theme, to sum it all up, is continued care. So there's a lot of things that goes into continuing care for your garden. Those things include properly fertilizing, using the correct soil, mulch, composting, irrigation, scouting, all the things we've talked about for the last 5 weeks, and those are things that you're going to use now to care for your garden. Here in our garden, we have an irrigation system. This is just part of it. Throughout the entire garden, there's an irrigation system for when we have our dry spells. So that's one thing you have to keep in common. Is it drought or are you in your wet season? So right now in the Keys, we're in the wet season in the summer, so you don't need to water nearly as much. Also, it's important to learn about what plants you're planting. If they're native, they typically need less care. That's why we say plant natives. And if they're not native, you should do some research onto how to properly care for those plants. And this will all depend on whether your plants are inside, outside, the soil you've used, and everything else that goes into it. So I've created a checklist for you to use at home to remind you of things that you should do daily, weekly, and monthly to care for your garden. And it's also important to know your county's extension. So here we have our Monroe County Extension, and they're an amazing resource to contact when you have questions or concerns about your garden. They are really a good resource and can help you out. So I put that information into our garden continued care checklist as well. Thanks for joining me for these last few weeks, and I hope you've enjoyed this year's virtual summer in the garden, beginning Botanist.